and welcome to the Harper broadcast. We are amidst the bustle of the World Book Fair 2020 at the HarperCollins India stall, and I'm in conversation with Avik Chanda, the author of Dara Shikoh, The Man Who Would Be King. I'm Renita Banerjee. Avik, welcome to the Harper broadcast. So this is your first historical biography, yes?
That's great.
So how did the idea of doing the book come about? As in, why Dara Shikoh of all historical figures?
So this goes back about 2.5 years, and I just finished another project for HarperCollins, and that was a business book.
Right.
And
right.
I had two options at that point. Because the earlier book had done quite well, I was thinking maybe I should follow it up with another business book on, very topical subjects in the current ecosystem. Or I could do a passion project.
Right.
And one of my passions has always been history, so I thought, all right, I'm going to do a history book. Because
Right.
there have been people, particularly on the mother side of my family, who've been historians, who've been academics, who've written a lot of history books.
Right.
And I said, all right, let me try and tap into my roots, as it were.
Right.
So that's kind of the logic that said, okay, I'm going to write a history book. And after that, when I started to do my initial reading, particularly around the Mughals,
Right.
I saw that if you look at the great historical personages, all the way from Akbar to Shah Jahan,
Yeah.
and even right to Bahadur Shah Zafar, the last Mughal, they've been covered.
Absolutely.
But a personage, a figure like Dara Shikoh is always on the fringe, is always kind of waiting in the wings. You get glimpses of him where you're reading about Aurangzeb, about Jahanara, certainly about Shah Jahan. And I
The
said,
focus
all right,
isn't there.
why do I not get Dara Shikoh into the limelight through a project?
That was fantastic. Well, when one reads this book, one sees that you have employed quite, different registers in the book, right? The narrative style is very interesting. Why write it in this novelistic fashion? Why employ these kind of registers? Could you tell us something
Sure,
about that?
sure. And this was quite a collaborative approach. So there was Priya Doraswamy, my agent, and Rahul Soni, who
Yeah.
commissioned the book for me. And it was like three of us literally getting into huddle over emails
Sure.
and saying, all right, we can pitch it as historical fiction even, or we can have it as non-fiction in novelistic style.
Right.
Alternatively, we can do it as a more serious academic non-fiction biography.
Sure.
And what we decided was personage like this, probably the nuances, the finer nuances and the complexities of his life would come about even better and in a more interesting, engaging fashion if I adopted a novelistic style.
Absolutely.
And so therefore what I tried to do was adopt a style which is more novelistic, but back it up with solid historical research.
Right, and I think that is one of the reasons why probably this book or the story of Dara Shikoh is much more accessible than it would have been if it was a typical, like research-oriented, very seriously written non-fiction, historical non-fiction. And that brings me to the kind of reactions that you might have been getting from readers of this book. What's been the kind of feedback that you've been getting?
Well, in terms of the feedback, what everybody right across the board, right from journalists to ordinary general readers, were not necessarily history buffs. The first thing everybody's told me is that this is quite a thick, fat tome,
Yes.
but it does not feel daunting at any point of time. It's quite the page turner. It's engaging. It's engrossing. Towards the end, it's quite sort of heart-aching.
Indeed.
When we come to the tragic end of Dara Shikoh, but at no point of time does the interest of the reader sag. So that's the first feedback that I got.
Okay.
And I think one of the best compliments that I got, which probably goes back to the style that we were talking about a minute ago, is it seems as if the account is from the eyes or through the lens of an eyewitness, somebody who's actually been there,
Okay.
from the darbars to the Ibadat Khanas to the fields of battle, and
You've
is
been
actually
there.
yes been there.
Yes.
It's from that perspective, and which
That's
was
fabulous.
extremely heartening to me.
Absolutely, should have been. Dara Shikoh, how relevant do you think this book is in terms of him being the historical figure that you've talked about in the book? Um, I see a lot of relevance of the kind of figure he was in today's times. What's been the relevance for you?
Right. I mean, uncannily enough, when we began the project about 2.5 years back, the only thing that was really of relevance in our sort of outside milieu would be the fact that a prominent road in New Delhi had been renamed as the Dara
Yes.
Shikoh Road. But that was kind of it.
Right.
But what is uncanny is just around the time of the publication of the book, there have been so many things specific to Dara Shikoh.
Right.
For example, in September last year, there was this great big sort of symposium focusing only on Dara Shikoh, and
Right.
where Dara Shikoh was projected, highlighted, celebrated as the emblem of Indianness. Um,
Interesting.
and it crosses them apart because the idea of nationhood didn't come in this, wasn't actually extant in the 17th century, but it came in much later during the 19th century, as we know. But that apart, I'm quite in favor of this kind of a label per se. My point is, if we really look up to him as a kind of a role model, as an emblem, as a person that we should follow, then the first thing that we should do is apply the principles of his ethos, apply the principles of his syncretic, pluralistic philosophy,
Yeah.
right? Uh, all of that can be encapsulated into one particular phrase, which is the title of his book, Majma'ul Bahrain, right? The mingling of the oceans. And here the two oceans are that of Hinduism and Islam. And I think we are a fair bit away still from realizing his dream.
Yes, I hope that we can close the gap soon. And to end with, what's been the most satisfying experience, satisfying part of the entire experience for you personally while working on this book?
There's not been, I mean, there have obviously been these high points, right? When I've got a little bit of insight and I've, unearthed another piece of evidence while going through the archives, etc., which wasn't necessarily highlighted in previous works. But I would say, as a whole, the entire journey was extremely satisfying.
Okay.
Like I said, in many places it felt extremely collaborative, both with Priya as well as with Rahul. And obviously later on, when you came on board, I think that helped tremendously because when we were wrapping things up, it wasn't just from the perspective of the copy editing,
Yeah.
but also all the other sections that we added to it. Right from the map to the dramatis personae, the extent of the bibliography that we have, the glossary, etc. I think all of that, that's the feedback that I'm getting from the readers, that enhances the reader's experience
Right.
and that helps them to sort of relate back and forth across all of the characters and events that are happening. So end to end, I think it was extremely remarkable. And I have to say, Harper's done a splendid job in the actual production of the book, because no matter how hard you work, or what kind of work and effort you put into it, what you finally see in the market, right? What the market understands is a product. And I think product-wise, the quality has been top-notch. So I'm really happy.
Excellent, excellent. That's wonderful. So thank you so much, Avik, for talking to us, and all the best for your future endeavors.
Thanks.
Viewers, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more such broadcasts, and happy reading.